Hi guys, welcome back to Lighthouse Projector series with me, Juliette Stapleton, and my co-host Anita Keene. There's a lot of confusion that comes with what do I actually sell? And because of that, there is lack of clarity on how to package this, how to show up, what to say, who is it for, all those kind of questions that usually send us down the research rabbit hole and into the arms of all the kind of gurus that will tell you how to do it the right way so you can make money quickly and all those kind of unrealistic promises. So we're here to tell you, like Prince, there's something else. And we want to call this episode How to Package Your Unique Gifts into a Business. Now, you might already have a business. So in that case, you have done something well, right? You're figuring things out. Fantastic. I hope that this episode will help you lean even more into your intuitive gifts and use what you know about yourself. And this is why we're tapping into human design, how to actually present this with more confidence. And I think that this is where we should start. When it comes to showing up, the fear of visibility is a huge, huge block for many, many people. More people than they care to admit suffer with the fear of visibility. As someone who has been extremely visible and always been, very consistent on the outside, I also sometimes have these periods when I just don't want to show up. There is a big block, and it's very interesting for me to always analyze, like, why, what is happening right now? Why do I not want to show up right now? Am I disconnected with what I'm saying? Where is the confidence? Why is there DCs, lack of ease with me just saying what I want to say? And personally for me, and this is why I'm so passionate about it, I find the answers in human design. A lot of people turn to human design for answers, but I find that we have to clarify here as well. Human design really merely echoes what you already know, but perhaps because maybe you grew up with certain beliefs about how things should be, cultural, societal, religious, and these things that deep inside, they go so against the grain that it's scary. It's scary to allow yourself to be who you are born to be. I found that what I know that is natural to me echoes in what I'm learning. And so every time I feel like there's this echo, there's this validation that it's okay to be like this, that this is not a bad thing. And I use very often in my content, I use this example of, talking about myself. As a first line, I'm a 1-3 profile in human design. As a first line, my mind is always, turned within. I is the only thing I truly know, and all the analysis that's happening inside my mind, right? So of course I'm going to talk about myself. It's very natural. In fact, my mom kind of proved it to me as well, saying, "Oh, when you were young, you were always talking about yourself for hours." And I'm saying, well, there's a child. So you see in this child what's natural for this child before they got conditioned with everything, before they were told that this is not a good thing to be. What did they do? If I was talking about myself, then perhaps, just perhaps, this is a natural way for me to express what I'm absorbing. Because through this expression, you have to think about, why is this someone designed to be like this? Nobody is given like a bad design. Everybody is perfect in the way they're designed to fulfill a particular role. So what is this role that someone like me is fulfilling, right? It's about this analysis and also probing things for, is this real? Is this trustworthy? Or is it a smoke screen that everybody's buying into, but actually there's no substance? People like with this first line, that's what they do for the rest of the world, right? And when you understand this role, that gives you so much validation. So when you're talking about bringing your gift and packaging this into the business, very often those are things kind of like that. They're not tangible things. They're not solid things. You can't come up with sometimes any kind of tangible results. I will help you make X amount of money in 30 days. You just can't do this, because what you bring to the table is very, it's fluid, it's abstract. But I find that when you know your role and when you know the little gifts where they are, and maybe you need to just be reflected in something like a human design report, you need to be reflected this back at you. That's when you get that confidence that then takes a lot of overthinking how to express yourself. Because a lot of us, I talk to clients a lot on my, sessions of visibility, online marketing clients, and we talk about something. They say, I have so many ideas, but I don't know how to say it in the right way so that they get me or so that they will buy. Where I find that when you're more confident about these are the gifts that I'm bringing to the table, right? So me talking about myself, my stories, my experiences, this is a gift that I have to bring to the table, to help others observe. And we learn from listening to other people's stories and experience. We don't have to always experience them ourselves. Not all of us are designed like this. So then you have these people who experience something themselves and then they share. And there you go. So there is a big learning and there's a big service that someone like this can give you. And that was one of the reasons when Anita and we discussed what are we going to talk about on our next Lighthouse Projector series. And Anita mentioned about some of the clients that she was working with that sometimes they're just not sure how to bring their spiritual business, how to package that and how to sell that. And we started talking about it, the elements of design. And of course, yes, this is exactly, and I already started, this is exactly what we want to highlight in this episode. And for me, I find that when you fully embrace those gifts, they make you cocky. That's the word I like to use. Cocky, the cockiness to show up, that compelling magnetism. If you look at anyone you follow online, what's that trait that makes you continue following them? There's this level of like ease and conviction and belief into what they have to say. So that's the feeling that we're hoping you can find, in your human design and beyond. So Anita, welcome and thank you so much actually, you were the one who inspired this conversation. So this is really interesting topic.
It really is because, I started off in pure science myself and moved from that into angel healing and teaching. So there was a lot of magnetism in the spiritual world about, well, can you see? Are you clairvoyant? Are you clairaudient? Are you, what clair are you? And people who actually aren't naturally inclined to see spiritually and are trying to keep seeing. So when you know what your intuitive gifts are, you stop seeking. You start fine tuning and mastering them. And as you said, the confidence comes when you are most closely aligned with who you are, who you naturally are. And here's the kind of conundrum because it's easy for you, which is how you come across as authentic because it rolls off your tongue. It's so easy for you. And then we have the natural suspicion of things being easy because no pain, no gain. You got to work hard to do things, so the two really contradict each other. Or but that's easy for me. I'm assuming it's easy for everyone else as well, which of course isn't true because it's not easy for everyone else. This is your gift to bring. And so packaging it, it's important to know it so that you're not constantly seeking, something that you're not, or trying to
Mm.
sell something that you're not. But to me, and this is a super nugget from this whole thing, if you hear nothing else, hear this. With your design, we all experience all the energies. It's how we experience them differs. So you might have an intuitive gift, like I have a very strong knowing gift, just that inner knowing whether something is correct for me or not. But that's not what I'm selling. I naturally attract people where I'm open in my chart, which is my spleen and my sacral. So I'm naturally going to attract those. So market to that, package to that. But my skill is I can help you, whatever, which is very interesting. So with the spleen, for example, if you have an open spleen, you might find that you're very intuitive, but not all the time. It's variable. And it is variable. It depends on who you're with. So you can help people connect with their intuitive gifts because you take that in and amplify it for them, and it's really key to know what's your actual intuitive gift and how do you actually market it because your design tells you, can help you differentiate that. Does that make sense, Juliet?
Yes, absolutely. And just to bring it to very practical terms, although you gave a good example as well, but the practical terms is when you're, for example, if you're manifesting, say, for example, you have a defined spleen and you have a defined throat, and maybe you have 1648 channel, which is a channel of talent, but it's not a channel of talent that you're born with. It's a channel of mastery. You master something to the state where it becomes the second nature. There's two things to take away from that kind of design. First is that when you can know something and you can channel that into your throat, speaking about it enthusiastically, with passion, because that's what this is, the channel of, speaking with enthusiasm, and it's like, it's contagious. I know, because I have that channel. And you're channeling through your throat. So you have to be responsible. You have to understand that you are intuitive and you can channel this intuition through your throat center, which becomes what you say becomes. There's a lot of things just in a personal, from a personal experience. Watch what you're saying. It's all your limiting beliefs that you're saying, oh, I can't afford this. I can't afford this. I can't afford this. Then 2 weeks later, you really have like a hole in your bank account. You're like, how did that happen? Well, you've manifested it, right? Because you're talking about things over and over and over with your throat. It's the same can happen in business. You can keep saying things out loud about your business and you will manifest this, whether it's true or not. It's going to become true over time, repeatedly, repeating other things. But also understanding that then, there's something that you're bringing to the table. So when I work with clients, I do know that there's other elements that also feed into that, but I intuitively sense something that could be good or bad for them, because the spleen is also, if you think about it, this is a primal organ that knows what's good for you, what's bad for you, what's safe, what's dangerous, right? So it's a completely like animal primal knowing. It's not anything mental. There is no logic to it whatsoever. The person on the other side could be very excited about something and they're so set on this, and you sense it's not good for them. That's how it works for me. And I know that I can channel that. But I can't just say it just like this. First of all, I need to be invited. I'm a projector. See how I understand, when I can say this and when I can't say this. When a person is my client, they're within my packages. They're already opened up to me to be their guide, right? And even with that, as a projector, for example, I will know to ask if they're open or not to this direct guidance, because my spleen is like screaming at me, stop talking about this, cheap product you want to create, because you're not going to make money on this, because you're missing a big audience that usually helps with selling cheap products, right? So there's a lot of elements. And knowing that I can present that in my marketing, and this is saying, here's what I am. Before I continue, I need to also, there is also this big block that comes. You can get empowered with your gifts. You can, like, let's say, I know I have this channel, I know, and I know my intuition can say, oh yeah, this is really good for you and this is not good for you. But my mind will always interfere, right? My mind will always say, yes, but, in traditional business, what if you don't do this? Then how are you going to make the money? So the mind will always try to jump in and sabotage whatever intuitive knowing you have. It's always going to happen. So it's really important to understand that when we're talking about, your intuitive gifts, they're finding the echo in your design, that yes, you can find that, but you have to also have the courage to, in a way, fight for your right to be that with your own mind, because that sabotaging, sort of line of thoughts never stops. It really never stops. There are moments when it's not as loud, but then there's other moments when it's loud. So I mentioned that I have these stages where I also have this fear of visibility. That's exactly what happens. It's just my mind kicks in and starts sabotaging all these good things that I know are good for me and I know they work. They've already, even with all the evidence that they work, the mind still can be really, really loud. So we have to also, remember that. It's me, like, I'm just realizing how, as a 1-3 person, I'm always warning about something that can go wrong. And this is just one of those examples, but when you do have, especially if you can make yourself almost like a list of things. These are my gifts. It's not that somebody said that this could be your gifts, right? Just because your human design report says these are, the things that these are your gifts, you might not be connected to some of them. They might not, maybe they don't actually show in what you do professionally. Maybe they show up somehow in another area of your life, because that's also possible. So you have to trust yourself that whatever's relevant will stand out and jump out of the page. And that's the thing to pursue. It doesn't have to be something new for you. It has to, like as I said in the beginning, echo what you already feel. Then it solidifies and creates the confidence with which we're showing up. Does it make sense,
It
Anita?
does, yeah, and this is the problem because we've all grown up in a mental society, in a intelligent, figure it out, work it out, think it through. And so we're constantly referring to the external and what we've learned as opposed to what's actually correct for us. Our own intuitive gifts. Do I know? Am I sensing? Am I tasting? Am I smelling a rat? Am I, all these things that are intuitive gifts. And so to learning what that is for you. As I say, when I do readings for people, 9 times out of 10 they know already, but they think everybody else can do that. So when you're kind of trying to package your intuitive gifts, you're not actually packaging the gift so much. You can use it in your marketing terms, I feel, but you're marketing the impact of working with me with this gift. What's the benefit to you to be able to um, own that confidence, own that gift that is yours. So as you say, with the defined spleen, the number one problem with the defined spleen is that they override it with the mind. Number one, right? So when you understand that, as you say, you start reversing it. You start developing the skills that help you to tune into your spleen rather than your mind, and let the mind inform your intuitive gifts rather than the other way around. Now, there's skills everybody can learn, and it's just initially just knowing what those are is so important. Like I'm a triple split projector, right? So what I find is when I'm off balance, I'll feel, oh, there's something missing. There's always something missing. I'm never enough. I'm always looking outside of me for answers. But in balance, it's the most super finely tuned recognition of, oh, there's something missing here. It's not adding,
Mm.
it's not adding up, right? And knowing that you can, tune in. Am I balanced? Am I grounded? Yeah, well, it isn't actually adding up. And what it feels like for someone who has a split in their chart, what it feels like is it's almost like, a dream. When you have a dream that you keep coming to a certain point and it stops and you go back to the start and you come to that certain point. When that something is missing, you can't actually make progress. But when you know, oh, there is actually something missing here, you can open up then intuitively to what needs to happen for me to join the dots. So in my marketing, I can say, I help you join the dots between your intuition and your skills so that you can be prosperous, right? And a lot of people who come to me with splits will say, yeah, but there's still something missing. And I'm there, no, when you say that, you're actually off balance.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
like it's just perception. So
yeah,
not even, it's just the angle. So you can take an angle, say, "Oh my God, things are missing," and feel bad and feel like go into this like panic mode, things are missing, you're incomplete. Or you use it as a weapon, right? In a way, you use it
yeah,
as a tool. It's like, okay, I sense something's missing. Good. This is good. Actually, this is in a way, I'm over the years, I remember, maybe in my 30s, there's so much drama happening around me in my work, and and I've trained my brain to go from panic response, when you get reactive, to solution. And then over years I became so good that like I would look at my husband, my late husband Les, he would go straight into panic and screaming, everything happens, I don't know, the car doesn't stop, and everybody's fault. And he was a large split, of course it was everybody else's fault. But
yeah,
for me it was so interesting because my mind would skip that weird screaming stage. Before I would be also like this, but then no, I'm like, okay, what can we do? Google solution, or what can we do right here right now to change this situation? So what happens when you start changing this angle? It is a skill that over time you just master. Eventually you will never feel panicky when you feel something missing, you'd be like, oh, great, this is like an indication that I need to do something about it. Maybe research or change something or adjust. I think this is exactly it's the angle you're looking at,
It
what's in
really
front of you.
exactly. And I'll just even tie it even tighter for people. Your super liability, you know, when your intuition is overrode with the fear, with the anxiety, with the mind, you're super it's a super liability. But when you know, as Juliette said, how to reset that, it's your superpower. It's how you can navigate the crazy without getting stuck in the crazy. As I say to manifesting generators, you know, yes, you are, you love to rescue, but you're not the fire. You don't rescue people by jumping into their fire with them. You know, you step back, you evaluate, you, and so when you know that, your superpower is to, and intuitively, if your superpower is to, as Juliette says, understand that the more clear and grounded and centered you are in a crisis, the quicker you get through it. And I do say that to clients. I say, look, guys, you completely lose touch with your intuitive power when you are in fear. And the quicker you can release the story and sit back and just get grounded and centered, the quicker you will navigate what actually has to be done here, rather than the tons of things that your fear is telling you, overcomplicating everything, overthinking, overdoing everything. You know, it's really cool. And bringing it back to packaging, when you know your skills, your intuitive skills, your energetic skills from your design, it's so much easier to market them in your package. I help you to join the dots. I help you to find the missing piece. I help you, you know, as is with the split. So for you, I help you to practice strategies that I know are innate to you in your marketing so that you can get the results that you want. So you can put it into your marketing in a way that you're actually magnetizing the people into your business that but it's difficult to sell intuition. It's difficult to sell, you know, knowing. It's difficult. But when you can sell, well, once you connect with your knowing or your intuition or your clairs, as in clairaudience, clairvoyance, clair sentience, um, you can become more confident in how you not only deliver your gift, but how to talk about it. You know,
Yeah.
it just makes it so cool. It was even, I even just the other day, I was talking to a client or potential client, and I said, look, looking at your design, you're actually designed to be clairvoyant. And she was there, oh my God. I knew that, but I thought I needed more. We always think we need more, right?
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, it is because it's so easy to us. We think, ah, there must be more to it than that. And sometimes there isn't. And people are so overwhelmed, so facing such a complex world today. The simplicity is just like a breath of fresh air for them. So don't underestimate the power of simple, you
Oh,
know?
I so agree. In fact, my biggest aha moment, I'm in the 10th year of this online business journey, and it's a long and winding road, and it wasn't like, 10K in 5 days, It was a long time before things started really clicking and becoming consistent, because it can be like fast and famine for a while, but when it comes to consistency, that's when you get to see clearly what is exactly happening. Why is this consistent? And one thing I took away is that it's about so what's good about you and why people not just hire you initially but also stay with you sometimes for years. Those things are in themselves, they're so simple that it's scary to market yourself like this. It's For me, it could be energizing. The client can come to me on a call and say, Juliette, I've been stuck the whole month, haven't done anything, I'm so stuck. At the end of the call, in 60 minutes, they're like on fire, they're ready, and they have some sort of clear strategy. And if not clear strategy, they're inspired. Because you know what, also in my experience, the strategy comes to you like this when you're inspired. It's when you're stuck and uninspired, that's when it's very difficult, because you don't know what to do, you overthink. When you're inspired, then you're kind of like up for trying and testing, and the strategy also kind of comes out, much easier. So then when you know this little thing, you know, like, okay, and you think, oh my God, you know, how can I market myself when I can't just say, hey, I'm going to make you inspired. Hey, I'm going to make you, you know, unstuck. And over the years, what I'm realizing now that yes, you can, but there's a big, big but. It has to, your business model has to support that kind of marketing. When you're saying, I know, I can listen to you, you can talk to me, and I intuitively can pick things. And you know what? Yes, you can, and you can sell it for whatever money you want. As long as, that's the word I was looking for, or provided that you're creating a lot of content explaining how you think, not explaining, but just demonstrating how you think, how you see things, what happens in these situations. People need to build that know, like, and trust, not just to you even as a person, although it's paramount, but actually to your ability to do what you want to sell, whether it's intuitive powers, whether it's energizing powers, whether it's some sort of inspiring others powers, right? How can I open my wallet and you know, get my credit card or whatever card and pay you this hard-earned cash because I believe that you can do these things? How can I believe that you do these things? If I hear enough stories, if you provide enough bingeable content for me where constantly this theme is coming back, you know, into the spotlight, that you are intuitive, that this is how you intuitively feel it, this is what your clients are saying. So on its own, it can be very difficult to sell those things that are not tangible, but you can absolutely sell things that are completely not tangible if you're creating a lot of content expressing yourself, which for which you will need confidence to be speaking the way it's more natural to you. You know, so if it's more natural to me to, as examples, to use my own experiences, that's something I need to do more of. If it's more natural for you to tell others what to do, to condition them, maybe you're a fifth line, you know, person, and you have these, you know, the strategies, or maybe you're a sixth line person, you see this bigger picture. Do talk more about what you see. You know, you don't have to come up and show up in a certain way. People don't buy just because you do slides and teach something, or, you know, they buy from one person because that's their way of doing it, that's very magnetic, but somebody else is just an off-putting, boring exercise. So you need to find your own. And that's where, when you find your own, and of course, I want to address this thought that I know, guys, is in your head. You're like, Anita, Juliette, we love you both, but you're talking about things, but you're not giving us, like, give us like a breakdown. Just tell us, like, I am a reflector, I am a generator. What is my gift and what do I do? And we resist doing that because human design is a science of uniqueness, how, you know, how you're different from others, right? So we of course can talk about the common traits, and I hope that we will, you know, give you more of that. So please stay with us. But you have to remember that just because, you know, we're both projectors, but we're very different from each other. Our gifts are different, you know, because what we do though, what combines, you know, the projector, where the projector general trait of a gift comes, is that we energetically penetrate the other. So we go so deep and we penetrate in the most vulnerable and kind of a place that a lot of people just want to brush under the carpet and not go there, but we projectors, we cannot not go there. That's why
Yeah.
we need an invitation, because that's the ability we have with our energy. We just see so deep. We don't necessarily know that we see. It's all intuitive. It's energy mechanics. You know, it's not that we naturally like look at you and know all the secrets. That doesn't happen. But this is both of us. We share this ability to kind of see deeper, and usually into this vulnerable thing where we can either ask questions or, you know, make suggestions and redirect, because we're guides. If you're a generator, not a manifesting generator, and I would love you to talk about the manifesting generators, but the generator, you know, you have this slower and steady pace in life. You are fantastic guide. When we use the word guide, there's also different types of guides, right? So me and Anita, we guide, we see what's needs to be realigned. You would be an excellent guide within a process, because that's a different guidance. You know, for example, we are very good at strategizing, you know, the projectors. Are we good at implementing this? in our own lives. If you're a projector listening to this, you must be nodding because, projectors are very good at coming up with plans and strategies and everything. But when it comes to actually doing it, it's more difficult. We need guides who will take us step by step. And, when our energy goes down, they will have the stamina just to keep us, push us a little bit forward so we can go through this process and complete it and master it. And that's why we need the generators. So if you're a generator, and this is the practical way, how do you package this? If you're a generator energy type, think about, okay, so what's my process? This is your, in a way, business model and types of offers you can offer, type of guidance you can offer. Because within any mental related like therapy, or, where you're listening and talking to when you're actually doing something from a person, everything has a process. So by knowing that, and I know that if you're a generator listening to this, you already probably had a few ideas or hunches what it could be for you, what your unique process is. So, but beware, if you're a generator, generators also tend to try and find, how should we do this? The shoulds are your biggest curse. So, you know, your unique way of doing things, your unique way of thinking, the process that you have that's unique to you, that works for you, that's what we're selling. It's really important as well in this conversation. We are going to cover the manifestors and manifesting generators and the reflectors now as well, where I'm not jumping off this. But guys, the most important thing, and this is as an online visibility strategist, you are selling you. You are selling and marketing you. It's not about what they are lacking. If you have an undefined spleen and you can, like as we described earlier, like Anita was talking about this, and you can intuitively like tune in, you're intuitively tuning in and amplifying another person's maybe, unique gifts. It's still about you being able with this openness to tune in and so it's really important when we're talking about like if you're a projector, you have this guidance. Don't feel bad that maybe you are not implementing things that you're telling other people to do, because you energetically are created just to guide, to tell what, to discuss the direction, to sense what's good, what's not good for them. That's what you're naturally created for. So the fact that maybe in your own life you're struggling a little bit with implementation, that shouldn't stop you from packaging your gifts. This is not what people are coming to you for. You don't have to, even if you're a good coach, if you're a good coach, you're not the Olympian champion. You're a
Mm.
coach of an Olympian champion, right? It's a different role.
That's such a good point, because that is something that I would have used to stop myself in the past. Well, I haven't done it myself, so how can I teach it? Or how can I express this guidance to someone? And if you're a sixth line, that's true for you. You really do
Yes.
need to have tried it. And at 1-3, you will have had to have tried it before you share. Whereas for me, it wasn't necessarily the same way. I actually see your skills and I can tell you how you're designed to bring most flow. Of course, most flow means you're going to be most prosperous. So that's what I'm guided to do. I don't have to do it myself. And I remember thinking one time, oh my God, I have to do that, because we all have a different way of doing it. And that's the thing. I think that's the biggest conundrum for people. I'm trying
Yeah.
to do what I see out there, what such and such has said that they've made a gazillion dollars doing. Whereas actually, when I connect with how I'm actually designed to do things, it makes a huge difference. And knowing like if when you're speaking what your speaking skill is. I remember being terrified. Public speaking scared the life out of me when I was trying to do it the manifesting generator way or the generator way, or when I realized what my version of speaking was. It was just so much easier. It was so much less stressful for me. And if you look at public speaking, it's in the top 5. So much easier. I give myself prompts so that I stay on cue. I might even do little slides, one slide maybe for the talk. That would be all I'd need. That keeps me on track. And, whereas someone else can do it intuitively. If you have the second line, you'll need to speak from your intuition for what comes naturally to you. If you have the first line, it'll be all about information. If it's, and it's just realizing. You asked about the difference between the generator and the manifesting generator. The generator doesn't have the energy connected to the throat. So they can often be marketing and speaking and feel that they're not heard and people don't hear them and they talk over them and all that jazz, whereas the manifesting generator does have that energy to the throat. So they command your attention easier. And so the generator needs just a different strategy to be heard you know and so does a projector. Of course, we don't have the energy connected to the throat, so when you're talking, you really need to understand that for the generator, for example, that you need to be responding to a question. You need to be responding to a situation in your workplace or with your business to be heard. So if you want to market, you're best to say, let me suggest to you. So you're not coming across like you're telling them what to do. As a projector, we say, so that's a statement. Let me suggest something to you from the generator. The projector will go, um, I have a suggestion. Would you like to hear it? We come in with the question, whereas they come in with the statement, and it gets the effective result. So as a projector, I don't know, have you noticed this, Juliette? Maybe not as a 1-3, but as a 5-1, I'm invisible. Um, I find I say things, people completely ignore it, and then 5 minutes later they come up with it and it's their idea. You know,
Oh yeah, well that can happen, but it's interesting because we can go into the nitty-gritty, about like I'm a 1-3. I literally don't pay attention to the world outside of me, so and most people are like 1-3s are like that. They're just it's a very mental process. But I also find there's so many elements, to not being seen, for example. There's so many elements. As a fifth line, a specific situation could be that you did not speak to their crisis, so it went into the fell onto the deaf
okay.
ears, these kind of things. And also with the projector energy, I find that with projector, less is more. When we speak less, yes, we can say I do know the solution, I have a solution if you want to, if you're open. But even with that, I find that it really is less is more in terms of what's said for us. When people turn to us, so silence is golden. I know Ra, who talked about it a lot, about silence of the projectors, but we're so impatient. That's so hard to do. We just want to, be asked. So that's why we come up with all these kind of phrases. I find in my experience, if I like bite my tongue and I don't suggest anything, chances that I'm asked within this conversation are much higher than if I am actually, and I feel like I'm like a, the child who just wants to say something. Like I am like that. And then I start, calling them, inviting them to invite me. And that is ruining the energy a little bit. I want to also kind of maybe clarify a little bit, guys, because we're not talking about marketing with these questions as marketing as how do you show up, but sometimes how you can offer your guidance directly, with these things like, I have a solution. Would you like to, it's really important that we don't use these phrases when we are creating, let's say, social media post, and we then start fitting everything to just like create some post that says, I have a solution, would you like me to share with you, or something like that. There's so much confusion that's happening with this. And another thing as well, I laughed a little bit when you mentioned the second line and how, they can just be intuitive and natural, because I'm married to a second line these days. And what I see, and he's a coach, he's a very talented coach, but he's really into his slides, and he's really into his form. And he's not the only like 2-4, he's not the only 2-4 that I worked with and I know who really, really want the structure. And that makes me think how it's interesting that sometimes, your talent is natural. Your talent is that you, for example, can intuitively just channel whatever comes out to you. And yet the conditioning will kick in, and your conditioning will make you structure this into very rigid slides and very rigid forms. And you're going to get very stressed out if something unexpected happens and ambushes you. That's very typical for the second line, how they feel when
Mm.
unexpected things happen. They feel like they're being ambushed, and then they get really freaked out. But But this is what we're here to say. There's a gift you have. You have this gift of naturalness. You might not realize what it is, but allowing sometimes. So for the second line, allow that flexibility. And you can play with your slides as much as you want if that makes you happy. I'm not saying don't do that, but you have to always allow to be flexible. And this is something that can then, either work for you or not. And knowing that is really good, because everything is awareness. When we're talking about packaging your gifts, it's about having this list or having this collection of things that you know that are your innate gifts, like being a natural for the second line. So when the opportunity happens, instead of reacting negatively and thinking, oh my God, they will not like me. I don't know, the second line is always very difficult on themselves. You can see this as the opportunity, exactly like in the story with the triple split. You can see this as an opportunity. There's the green light for me to actually just like go with the flow. Let's play with it. And I'm telling you, every time you allow yourself to go with the flow, you're going to turn any situation which in your head might feel like a disaster, you will turn it all around, and people just admire you because the second line, it's a dancer line, the dancer who loses themselves in the dance. Just lose yourself in that dance. That's what people want from you. That's when you're magnetic. First line, information. Yes, but I'm a first line. Some first line is not about information. It's about that one detail that makes sense. And so you're going to sift through so much information. And of course, you're going to remember most of it, but it's about this one detail. So when let's say 1-3 comes to you, there will be something that they experienced on their own skin or observed, but still, it's their process. And they're going to give you this one detail that this is trustworthy. I went through so much research, like 9 months I researched. I remember when I got my dog, 9 months I researched for one sentence that I read in 9 months. He was already 9 months old, which means 9 months of my nervous system being completely destroyed by this very difficult dog. And that one sentence I read in some blog, it made sense. Now I knew how to approach my dog. That's the kind of example of the first line of knowledge. But I know so much about that breed now because I had to look for this one sentence, right? It's so interesting. I don't know when the one is in your body, its body is still digesting and
That's a
processing.
really good point, but I wanted to touch on some, I'll go into this in a second, but I wanted to touch on you saying the silence, being balanced and centered in your energy, and trusting that you are going to be invited or asked for this advice that you're ready to give when you're holding that in your energy is more powerful than anything. But with the one in the body, what I find is I am a more intuitive researcher. So the best way I can say that is while if I'm out of balance, I'll jump in and train as a human design specialist. I'll train as an angel healer and teacher. I'll need certification and everything because that's the fear driving it, right? But the truth is, when I'm on my dime, when I'm balanced and centered and grounded, the way I'll seek information is to find a practical application of it. So I'll go through a book and I'll say, okay, guide me to what's the important point for me in this book. So I could used to do a book review in a half an hour, whereas other people would need to read the whole book and go over it again. And I'd be there, I'd pull out the nuggets and join them together in a way that makes sense. So it's more intuitive. When I see the information, it resonates with me. And then I use that. And there could be a ton of other stuff. I don't take that. I just take what resonates. And so with the 5-1, the one in the body, it's really a practical application of that information that resonates.
This
So
is such a great example of how we're not maybe
yeah,
doing this episode in a very structured way. And my conditioning wants to apologize to the listeners and viewers, but I don't want to apologize for this
yeah.
because this is exactly what being accepting your uniqueness is becoming unapologetic. There is no structure to this episode, but we're giving you such a great little nuggets, examples of how it looks in real life. So what we're trying to give you is not prescriptive A, B, C, D, this is what you do, but actually teach you some critical thinking about this thing, because you cannot lean into your gifts, into your design, if you don't really process it and then embody this. And for that, you need to think. So how is it for me? What are these definitions that are used? What does this mean to me? What does looking for information feels to me? Whether you're like we just described, I'm a mind first line, Anita is the body first line.
Yeah.
Different experience, different experience. What your mind is driven by fear, but it's going to be a very different type of fear than the body processing the details. It's so interesting for me. I'm such a geek in these things. And again, see, because of this insecurity, the first line mind, I'll be going and researching everything. As a result, I'll know a lot of information that is really cool and handy. But it's really, it's so it is so interesting. I do want to go back to a little bit. So we talked about the projectors and with the guidance, and being able to penetrate into most vulnerable blind spots is a very good way to see what projectors, the gifts that projector brings, is we see the blind spots. The generator really can give you this process and carry you with it and help you and support you through the process. My accountant is a pure generator. I absolutely adore her because I would be freaking out. The money is one area where I lose my cool. Well, I used to actually. I'm much better now. But also it's because I have this person, who she just keeps going. And sometimes it's too much for me because of the, energy levels of a generator and a projector. I wrote about it, a whole article. It's a completely different, experiences. But I know that in this respect, there is this, it's like almost like a big, steady elephant like animal just goes and goes and goes and goes. And it's good because, where I was resisting, there's too much pressure for me. She keeps going. And so now I'm going with her. And, things just unfold and I feel so supported. This is what a generator brings you. It brings you this sense of support, actually, and support and reliability and that kind of loyalty. And this is what these generators bring. The manifesting generator, different pace, still support, but very different pace. So I'm gonna just say what I feel was manifesting generators, and I would love you, Anita, to kind of take over because you talk a lot about the fixing energy and all that kind of stuff. But I find that where the manifesting generators gift is that they will push you to do more. They will push you. They will just like not like a manifester ignition. It's more maybe more consistent, I should say, or but they will say something. It doesn't have to be telling me what to do. But I find that when I'm talking to a manifesting generator, they just like, as a matter of fact, they will say something, but it's challenging. And we projectors, we love the challenge. We might not have like energies that are consistent, but gosh, I speak for many people I know. Anita, you're probably one of those people. I can challenge myself. So I hear something from a manifesting generator. It feeds into this, oh, challenge. And then I'm in action again. So this is a gift from an energy type of a manifesting generator, is to, like, keep pushing beyond what you think your limits are. We need those people in our lives.
Mhm. That's a really good point. I the way I see manifesting generators is they're the two pieces. They're the manifester and the generator in one. So they are the initiators. Let's try something new. Let's try this. And then with the generator aspect, they come along with and here's the process to do it. And what we need to watch with the manifesting generators or embrace is that they will always jump two steps ahead. They'll have the idea, they'll be at XYZ and you're at ABC. So you need to make sure that, or the manifesting generator needs to make sure that they have a generator or a projector around to be able to help them stay connected with the pieces that are necessary to do that, because they can move so fast that they leave out bits, they skip bits. And the generator is too methodical for that. Whereas the manifester will be there, or the manifesting part of the manifesting generator will jump ahead and let's do this. And you're kind of there, hang on, but we need ABC first before we get to XYZ. So it's really interesting working with, I'm actually married to a manifesting generator. So but he's a 6'2", right? So he's intuitive and he's instinctive about how he does things. Whereas I'm the 5'1". I'm there, where's the information? Have you got a solid basis for this? And it's really funny. So to work together, what really works well is that I will say, well, here's the information and let him off with what needs to be done, because he'll go get it done and sort it in his own way. So I've stopped, saying, oh, you forgot this bit. I don't say that anymore because it interrupts his process of showing up. So I let him figure it out for himself now. Whereas before I would interrupt the process, which, as you know, the manifester hates. We all hate our creative process being interrupted. Does that resonate at all?
It does resonate with me. I am one of those, I'm in the front of people who don't see manifesting generators as manifestors, because manifesting generators, I find that where they initiate is upon response. So when I work with, or even I don't have to work
Oh,
with, when I talk to a manifesting generator, especially when they're my people, correct for me. So, you know, there is like this openness, you know, and what I find that they kind of, they don't have to even do things. It's about how the mind switches. And so there is this, what I mentioned, this kind of challenging me. This thought process could be challenging, but they do skip things. And a lot of manifesting generators don't associate, they don't agree when they hear that, you know, they can do a lot of things at the same time, but that's because they don't think about their everyday, you know. They
yeah,
don't maybe do a lot of things in their business, but at the same time they do everything, you know, around the house and fixing the roof and gardening and you know, like having a big social life. That's all still doing things, right? But maybe in this area it's just the kind of mental process, and they come across much more composed. And you know, but I find that if I was a manifesting generator myself and I was packaging, you know, what I do, this is exactly what I would sell this, that my one of my gifts is that I can keep pushing you through your comfort, you know, pushing you so you can overcome the limitations that you're putting around you. I'm not saying that I'm going to push you beyond your potential and capabilities, but I can challenge you and I can push you, and I can provide this stimuli all the time that you need so you can, you know, move forward. And that's what I think, that with the energy type, the energy type is not something that makes the most, I find, that impact on, for example, how we're showing up. In my experience, it's much more understanding your profile, because that's where your personality lies. The energy type is more about like pace of and type of interaction that you have with the world around you. It's very important to understand, you know, about your aura. Yes, it was your personality, that's much more about the profiles, you know. But I still think that it's really interesting. So if you're a manifesting generator, you do challenge, you do have an ability to push them like a good sports coach. That's a very good, you know, example. And again, you don't have to do the thing yourself the same way and be as
yeah,
good at, you know, this is, we have to release this shame that, but oh my god, but I don't have that, you
yeah,
know. Like I have clients who are 7 8 figure businesses. I don't make 7 figures in my business. I'm very transparent about it. I wouldn't want to, because you have to have a team and you have to have so much. Like, I don't want to have that level of responsibility and hassle in my life. So I'm intentional about my business, but I have these clients. I can guide them because I so easily see what, you know, their blind spots are. And then, you know, the manifester, that's where it's such a cool type, because the ignition happens completely, you know. It's almost, they don't even have to do anything consciously, they're already igniting you. I would talk to a manifester who, you know, could be even my client, right? And we're not even talking about the business, we could be talking about absolutely anything. And after the call, I am suddenly ignited, I suddenly get my stuff done, I suddenly have something that's been, you know, on the back burner. I'm like, oh, great idea. Manifestors, you're amazing. And a lot of manifestors are holding themselves back. That's your shadow, you know, holding back your voice. Your voice itself activates. If I was a manifestor, no matter what, you know, intuitive gift I would have, I would say, okay, so I have the voice that ignites. Whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to add audio and video to it, because
mm,
I have the voice that
mm,
activates things. Or I will do things that we get together and we create some sort of plan. You might not follow the whole plan, but you're going to be activated into something that is more correct for you to follow, if our plan isn't, you know. And I find that gives you so much confidence. You know your role, you're going to
yeah,
make an impact. And the impact doesn't depend on what you know or what you say. The impact happens that your voice activates. It's like, this is what impact, you know, I hit my
mm.
one hand, the other bounced off. And whatever happens when that thing bounces off is not your role, but you're the one who made it happen. That's where I'm thinking in terms of like packaging your
Yeah.
gifts as an energy type.
Can I jump in there because you
Yes.
beautiful distinction. The manifesting generator initiates on response to something. They're, you know, responding to something. The manifester is a natural initiator, just as in, let's do this, you know. And what I found with both projectors and manifestors in marketing, in packaging their gifts, is that we have been conditioned with the generator energy. So the manifester can look for something to respond to when that's actually not their deal. You know what I'm saying? So instead of like instinctively thinking, "Oh, this is a great idea, let's do this," obviously based on their profile, how they're designed to interact. But the manifester, one of my best friends is a manifester, and she's a 2/4. So she'll call everyone out to connect, 2/4, right? And she'll say, "Hey, let's do this." But it'll be something we've never done before. She'll be like, "No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll, I got it, and it's so funny to see how, as you say, you can, when you're quiet and calm and cool and connected, you're actually impacting people
You
all the
don't even
time.
have to tell them what to do. It's
Yeah,
so interesting. I actually had
yeah,
a I had an interview with I had an interview with a manifester for one. I think it was Damon Bowler. I think yeah, that he was the one who was saying when he gets up, for example, they're having a barbecue, everybody sits outside their house, and he'll get up to get a beer inside the house. And everybody got up and went into the house. So it's like you have this initiating energy. You don't even have to come up with an idea. You don't even have to, you can literally hold space for your clients. And they will come up with their own ideas that are correct for you, but you're by just being there, talking to them, you're igniting them. I have another client that I know who is a manifesting generator, and he hired a manifester just to be there for creative processes. And that's really cool, to see, because this is energetically really correct. It's not about this manifestor doing anything, but she's so, again, conditioned. We're conditioned, and it's not even maybe fair on generators that we always refer to them, but we're conditioned on delivery of some sort of process or service or doing something. That's the conditioning the society imposes, that we have to, our worth is determined by how much we do, right? But it's
mhm.
not. It's about what you energetically do without doing anything is
And
really important. You can
and
package your offers with that in mind. It's very easy then to deliver them.
exactly, it's so true. And it's just that the work energy has changed dramatically in the last 10 years and is due to change dramatically in the next, it'll never be the same again. We're actually moving out of the generator type work into um, unique individual contributions. So this is why this is so important to know this, guys, because when you know what your unique contribution is, it's much easier to show up, to market, to package your deal, than just trying to comply with the generator mode, which is what has been done for years. So it's like what Juliette is saying is so cool in that once we know this about ourselves, how we are designed, that's when we have the confidence. We're not trying to be something we're not. We're not trying to do things in a way that's not right for us. Like the manifester is the initiator, as you said, but doesn't have the energy to do. But it's a pioneering guide, whereas the projector is a different kind of guide. I mean, it's just so good to know. And you'll already be feeling, and I'm speaking to whoever listens to this, you'll already be feeling that how you've been working or doing it or showing up or packaging your deal isn't really working because you're trying to do it in a way you were told or you learned. And so that's why moving and working with Juliette and myself is so important moving forward because I can teach you your design, your intuition, and how to harness these gifts. And Juliette can tell you how to package them. Like it's so cool to be able to know this moving forward, because it's going to be very draining and very exhausting. to
I
do it
think
that
this whole
level.
journey is very draining and exhausting.
Yeah.
And, as a true 1-3, I'm going to tell you even more dreadful detail about running this online business. You always have to have courage. When we're talking about, a lot of people come to me, it's like, I just want it to be easy. But you have to define, like, what does this easy look to you? What does it look to you? Do you think that something is going to be effortless? Is that ease? But that's not going to happen, because effort needs to be happening in order for anything to happen. We have to put the effort in. And because we're humans, and because we have busy minds, and because we're always living in this emotional world, there's so many factors that are constantly contributing to how we feel. So this sense of ease, it's so important that we take responsibility and we find what's natural. It's not going to necessarily be effortless, that you're going to be working less, but you're going to be working in a way that channels who you really are. That is very, very powerful, but you have to be courageous to allow yourself to, because not every manifestor allows themselves to, for their voice to be heard, and not every 1-3 allows themselves to talk about themselves, and not every 5-1 comes up with these practical solutions. A lot of them say, well, I know how to fix all this, but I don't wanna, they don't see me, they don't appreciate me, and starts hoarding this. That's the biggest shadow of the fifth line, right? Hoarding their special thing because they were not publicly celebrated. Well, turn it around, start celebrating yourself first, because we have to do this. We have to create something that others and yourself will grow into. So yes, I will tell you how to package your gifts, but I will also try and empower you to be courageous, to actually, show up with those gifts, and I will shatter your illusions like a typical 1-3 does as well. That's what
Yeah.
we do.
Exactly. And that's a really good example, or that's a really good point, because in the spiritual world, in the healing world, which I've been in now for 20 years in all different capacities, people define ease as smooth and flowing and easygoing. Whereas the truth is, ease is being in your own space and your own balance so that you can navigate the challenges when they come up. You don't fall, oh, it's hard, it mustn't be for me, or oh, I'm moving out of my comfort zone. No, it's not. It's about learning that, it becomes easy because you're happily face the challenges in front of you. You know how to apply your skill set to solve that problem. And so you can work through it rather than avoid it or fight with it or try to fix it or do all those things. So ease is actually recognizing it, moving out of the concept of perfectionism and everything has to flow and be, and move into the actual definition of ease, which is shit happens. It's how do you deal with it? How can you manage that? And then you just described it earlier, Juliette. One
I want
person
to
was,
add to this as well, because it's really important. The ease is mastery, but
yeah,
mastery happens from being really shit for a very long time. That's what mastery doesn't start with mastery.
yeah.
Mastery, one of my clients does jujitsu, and he just recently we were talking about this, and he says, a black belt comes to the carpet. They are so, they're just so at ease with everything. It feels so effortless, but it's not. They are so in control, and they have the awareness, the control. And you know what? It took so long for them to come to this stage. And that's what I find as well. I didn't just start talking about something with the courage and with everything. It took time, it took practice, and it felt horrible in the beginning because I didn't have the confidence, I didn't have the evidence that it's going to work. And the evidence in the world of online business is something that only happens over very long term. You can't just post something on Facebook and then decide if 10 people commented, then it's success, and if they didn't comment, then it's a failure. It could be exactly the same post, just posted in two different times, right? And there's two different outcomes that can happen. We have to be a little bit more realistic. I know how a lot of people are looking to astrology, human design, other kind of modalities for ease, but they're missing the point that, if you, let's say we all learned how to walk as children, we forget that it took us over a year to do that,
Mm.
sometimes longer. If you right now, God forbid, had that ability to walk taken away from you, can you imagine, just think for 1 second, about the physiotherapy you have to go through. And not everyone even gets through that as an adult because it's so hard. Anything we start is going to be hard in the beginning. We have to stop resisting that things are hard. But what you can do is you can be smart about what hard things you're going to do. A lot of people get burnt out, especially in the world of, marketing and running the business. They're doing all these other things that don't bring any results. They're kind of pointless, like posting on Instagram every day. And there's so many elements they're missing that's never going to work for them anyway. And then they complain that it's hard, but it's hard because you're doing something that is not smart and it's missing elements for it to succeed. So strategy is really important, but then preparing that, okay, it's going to feel hard. Feel hard is even more than that, it's actually hard. Sometimes to write down, to sit down and write a blog article feels harder than actually to do it, honestly. So it's about finding the way how can you build your mastery with these things that feel hard. Sports is a really good analogy with this because whether we're talking about coaches or we talk about the performers, because in anything, anything to create this visible ease, imagine how much training it requires. It's so important that we remember about that. We all, me myself included, we all want to get away with not doing anything and then getting all the results, but it's not how life works. So that's just a little bit of a Juliet's sad but realistic advice for you. And I
Yeah.
think that this is where, with the spiritual world, you can sell intuition. You can sell things that are not tangible. You can sell them in whatever way, you want to show up. You can actually create that package. But you need to also create a place where people start trusting this package. And that's where you need to show up. This is marketing. This is creating your content, video, talking about things. You don't need to talk about what specifically you're doing within individual client work because there's confidentiality, but you can talk about these blocks that you are, for example, working through with a client and how you're doing this. This is what you need to talk about. This is where you can just describe. For example, you can create a video that says, here's how I work with clients. And in that, you don't need to tell specific stories, but you can say, I usually have this gift of, for example, if you're clairvoyant, of seeing. I worked with this energy healing lady. She had literally like cartoons that she saw, and she was able to communicate through what she saw and then create some sort of plan of action and realign, and it was really effective. So this is an example of someone knowing how it works, and so that's how she can create this video. That's it. You are already now adding this a bit of clarity on, oh, so if I get a session with you, I see now what you're going to be doing. Because this sometimes, especially in the world of spirituality, we don't tell what we do and people are unclear. Unclear means they're going to hesitate to pay for your services or to get access to you. We need to make it as clear as possible. And yes, sometimes it's maybe not possible to put it into here's what I'm going to do with you, because first I need to meet you. But you can describe what's happening on these calls, or what's happening in your process. Create content around you, the modalities that you use, show what you see there. You don't have to show that you're an expert at it. I use human design. I have no certifications in human design because I am not interested in certifications. I want to do things my way. But I don't consider myself an expert on human design either, because it's more about here's what I see, and it could be very against the grain, but that's what I see, and I'm just going to stand by this. And this is how, by creating content around it, I am allowing people to trust what I see, so then they can trust that they can work with me. See how I'm just trying to like demonstrate how it
It's
works.
so important because with me as a 5-1, I have a mirror aura, so people don't see me anyway. So I use human design to see me so I can present that to my clients, so I wouldn't have known otherwise. And like, so there's all these different ways that you will present as, but there's only one way, or not even one way, because there's many different variations of expressing it. But for me, it's very important to consider what I want to bring to the table because that's what people see. As opposed to what natural marketing goes, well, what do they want? That immediately puts me out there again. And this is very contradictory and disruptive. I know it is. But that never worked for me. What worked for me is this is what I want to do, and this is the gifts that I bring to the table. And when I see the gifts, my clients see them and they're naturally magnetized into my space, which is really cool. So delivering that in my marketing is through video, is through talking about it, is through saying, when someone asks me a question, usually, I'll say, oh, well, I can do it this way. Because it doesn't naturally what's the word? It doesn't naturally come to the 5-1 to share their gifts.
Oh
You know,
yeah, because they're from the birth, the fifth
yeah,
line would be conditioned to hold back unless they have an amazing parent who celebrates them. And if that happens, then they're like won a lottery of the fifth line
yeah.
because you have to be publicly celebrated. But most fifth line people in their families, sooner or later, there's this projection field switches and their own parents start projecting the disappointment at them. And that's where this hoarding happening. So yes, for fifth line people, for especially for 5-1s, it doesn't come so naturally to talk about their gifts. And it's so ironic because Anita, you're 5-1, right? So guys, fifth line is the one marketer, direct marketing line that tells others what to do, literally. Everybody else have to go around, so like talk about what I see or but this is the people who can tell others what to do. And yet these are the people who feel like they can't do this. They
Yeah.
feel like they don't have the right to do this. They're holding back because of all these fears. And so, and one fundamental thing that you said, and before we wrap up, guys, it's really, really important because this is what traditional marketing tells you. Focus on them. What do they need to hear? What do you need to say so that, they build trust? The only thing that you need to say for them to build trust, it's what naturally comes out of you.
Mm.
This is where human design or understanding this and becoming aware of it and practicing it is so important because you become magnetic or trustworthy when you within a context of your expertise, or obviously, when you talk about what you believe in, what you see, what your vision is, what your solution is, that's what you need to talk about. It doesn't matter what they need to hear because trust me, different people buy for different reasons. There's no such thing as they who does things in one way, right? It's a myth. And I absolutely hate that about the traditional marketing. They're taking your focus from within, where the power and magnetism and everything is, and puts it on the other when it becomes just pure guesswork and very insecure because you can never guess. You know how if you talk about what are we in control of? We're never in control of what other people think. We're never in control of what other people, how they behave, what they're gonna do, but we're in control of what you say. We're in
Mm.
control of how you show up. So I am an ambassador for this. This is so important. And I loved it that even with the fifth line, the 5-1 line person says, I don't feel like I'm visible. I don't see it. People don't see me.
Mm.
So what's the rest of us to do then? If the direct marketing line says this. So guys,
Exactly.
always, always focus within. The gifts that you have, they're there when Anita is brilliant at actually like picking up these things and knowing in your design, and how this shows up. And this is absolutely brilliant. I can absolutely help you with packaging what's worth and what's not worth. I'm very good at saying, look, this is nonsense. Don't even talk about these things, but you can say this in such an easy way, and give you a little bit of a maybe inspiration that things don't have to be groundbreaking for your clients to actually feel that this is exactly what you do for them and this is why they're with you for so long. You need to own those little things. It's in the little things. The whole power of your marketing is in those little things that feel very easy for you because they're natural, right? So between us we can absolutely help you. And the core, like the focus for this specific episode, I know it wasn't very structured, and I keep saying this because that's what people expect, but I don't believe that it's correct to just come up with and just give you this structured thing. Imagine the value of this episode if we just would say to you, okay, projectors, these are your gifts, generators, these are your reflectors, sampling and digesting the world around you, reflecting back. Well, by the way, we never talked about your reflectors. I know you're only 1%, but It's not that we're ignoring you. You're as valuable as everybody else. But the point is that this actually, it would sound like it's valuable, but it wouldn't be valuable at all because you're not going beyond the surface level, and majority of the content out there, that's what you're going to get, but you're not actually thinking for yourself, and you're not thinking about, okay, so let me just find the way, what will look like ease for me when I overcome the initial resistance and the initial, not wanting to do it because it feels heavy or it feels too much, because feelings is a different, it's a different story. And so before we wrap up, I want to just give you a little visual. If you're on a swing and the swing moves forward, you always feel much more resistance. So when you're feeling resistance to doing something, blogging, doing video, showing up, packaging your gifts, selling your gifts, when you're feeling the most resistance, that could be the indication that this is actually the direction that you need to go the most. You need to lean into that the most. And what human design does give you is this empowerment. It's saying, no, it's okay to be me. I understand now why I'm made like this. And so because I understand that I'm made like this, I don't want to be anything else. I'm just going to find the courage. The courage is a key word. I'm going to find the courage to be myself. And then what happens, guys, is the world around you starts adjusting. When you get that courage and you start doing things your way, the world around you adjusts. People who are not your people will disappear, dissolve into the background. People who are your people will show out, like step out of the shadows. You didn't even know they were there. And they are, and so it's like you own it to yourself to do this. And then you end up with a business that is profitable because you're shining your light, right? So this light is bringing the ideal, your people that step out of the shadow. I don't know, they come onto this light because this is exactly what they need. You don't need to predict what they need. They will self-identify. You just need to be true to yourself and shine that light. That's your responsibility. We call this series Lighthouse Projector series, but it's not because it's full projectors, it's because both of us are projectors. But the lighthouse is really important metaphor here because it's about just focusing on having your light on. That means focusing within on you and your role and your gifts and your uniqueness,
Mhm.
and just unapologetically have it on so that the boats can see you. you know
Yeah.
it's such a simple metaphor, but it's so powerful. And the more we remind ourselves this is what we need to do, the easier it becomes, because shining, when you over time get stronger and stronger in this belief, okay, so here's me, Juliette. I talk about myself. Every time I write a blog, there's a personal story. And sometimes, my sabotage voice would say, but why are you talking about your, late husband again? But because I need to make a point, and this is again that story. Now I'm making an extra point, and this is my story. I've lived it. I felt it. I really see what was the essence of it. I can share it, right? When you know what your role is, you don't question, or you tell that saboteur to go away, because you don't question yourself. You know that what you're here to do, and then you get that business to be what you're here to be.
Mhm.
How awesome is that? I
Mhm.
think it's absolutely awesome. So, on this wonderful note, unless Anita, you have anything to add to this, but we could wrap up.
Yeah, no, I think what I was going to say was the power in our videos and our topics that we cover is as projectors, we create, when you go back over this, when you listen to this a number of different times, you will hear different things. We kind of set up a space for growth for you, for inspiring you. We both have defined Ted and Ajna, so our natural gift is to inspire. So you can listen to this over and over again, and you will get different things out of it because the projector brings a living thing to the table, which if that makes sense, if that
Yes,
makes sense.
absolutely. So this is just how we energetically help you.
Yeah,
Guys, thank you
yeah.
so so much for staying with us. I know it was a long episode. For now, take care and bye.